Heidi ho, my crafty friends. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. So today, I thought we would complete this little thing here that I started the other day. And the reason I started it was everything has to dry before I can put it in my book. So here's our book that we're working on, or I'm working on. And I want to put it back here towards the back. So I want to put it either, maybe I want to put it like right in here. Like I want to put it maybe right in here. Like that. Kind of right in the middle. And before I attach it to the page, I want to cover this, but I also want to cover the front and the back of the envelope with some decoupage. So what is in here is some of this Tim Holtz ideology. It's collage paper, and it is called the Aviary. So if you have some, you can pick out some of your favorite little birds, which is what I did. And if you follow me, you know I'm a little bird fan. So now that everything's dry, I can go on and kind of trim this off here. The trick to use, and all it is printed tissue paper. That's all it is. It's nothing fancy, nothing, whoop-de-doo-did. It's just printed tissue paper. And I really like working with it. It's fun to use. And, but I think I want to glue maybe 2 of these together to cover up in here where I took some of these apart. So let's see. So I think I want to glue maybe these 2 together. So let me grab my glue stick here. It's falling over. Yeah, this glue stick's just about empty, so I think I'll go on and use it up. So let's go on and glue these together. And since it's the middle of the book, it will, make it a little bit sturdier. So I'm actually going to put 3 of them together, I think. Yeah, that'll work. That'll make this middle of the book a little bit sturdier. So I've got 3 of these glued together. Oops, I'm taking them apart here. I don't want to do that. Right here. So now there's 3 of them glued together. And since it's really sturdy now, maybe I don't want to waste it on just an envelope. I can waste it on something a little heavier. But I also don't want to put anything on it right now. So let's go back here. And maybe go back to the next page. To the next one. Now, if you'll remember, I told you I was gluing these into 2s, like this, because my book is a little old, and it just makes it a little sturdier. My page is a little sturdier, but it also makes my book a little sturdier. Hold on just a second. I need to get a hold of something here. Okay, I'm sorry. PJ was outside and he got a little too hot. Okay. So let's do a couple of these. Now, you can determine your book. And, if your book is a newer book, and you don't need to do this part, then don't worry about it. Okay. Now, let's get to doing some of this. Now, for my decoupage, I'm going to put this aside here. Oops, I got everything attached. For my decoupage, I'm going to do the front, and I'm going to do the back. And then I'll take care of putting it together. I'm just going to use my soft matte medium. And it's a gel form. And I like this. I have a little bit better control over it than I do the liquid for something like this. And for the decoupage, I'm going to use some book pages that came out of the book. And then I'm going to cover them with just different layers of tissue paper that have been coffee dyed, just different varieties of tissue paper. Some, as you can see, are lightly dyed, and then, then they get a little bit darker, and then my layers tend to get, hold on, they got buried here, goodness sakes. And then they get a little bit darker, and they continually get darker and darker. Where'd they go? I just had them. Oh, here they are under the book. Here they are. They continually get darker. And then I've got a tea bag I want to use. I've got some sewing paper strips maybe to put on it. So there's a variety of colors that I want to put over the book pages. Okay, so this is the inside and I'm doing the outside. And I want to use this instead of a glue stick because glue sticks, I made the mistake of using the glue stick and it just took forever to dry. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. Okay. And I don't care if the words are sideways, upside down. I don't care. Because they're going to be covered and I'm really not going to see them. Now, I will be able to wipe off the cellophane with a baby wipe after I get everything on here. I am going to try to be as neat as I possibly can. And I am going to bring this down into the window a little bit to square it off just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so I haven't even asked you guys how you're doing today. So, how is everybody? I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had a good week so far and a great weekend. I don't know when you're watching this, but I hope your weekend's going well. All right, so let's bring this right here. There we go. I hope you've had time to create in a journal or two here that you've got going. I know we've made a few. And I don't always decorate every page in my journal, as you all well know. I leave those up to you for you to do, if that's what you choose to do. Oops, I should have torn that, huh? Guess I need a longer one. If that's what you choose to do in your journal, I'll leave them and then I'll come back and decorate them whenever I'm feeling creative for that journal. Or I get an idea, you know, something like that. I'll come back and create in that journal. Okay. Now let's go to this side. All right. I am going to keep this little number for something I have planned. So we're going to put it up there, but we don't need those. They are in my way. Now, I do think I want to go up into this blank area. I hope your weather's well. We are finally getting some nice weather. I think all the storms have passed us, which is kind of nice. Now that I've said that, we'll get some of the nasties again, but you know what? That's okay. That's all right. Okay. Now let's go on and take this off down here. And let's seal up our edges. Now, if you just watched me do this, you noticed I didn't worry about going over the top of it. I just didn't worry about it because I'm going to put another layer on it. Okay. And I didn't worry about this because that's going to be part of the back. Okay, so now let's do our tissue paper. Now I'm going to add this like this, and we are going to add some tissue paper. And I'm just going to pull little bits and pieces here and there. And if I get wrinkles, that's okay. I'm not worried about the wrinkles. I'm not worried about the different colors. I just want some texture. I just want some color. Now this I am going to go over. I want to make sure you guys can see. Yeah, you can. I just want some texture. I want some color to go over this. And I can see through to the book page underneath. Okay, I need this over here because that's already starting to dry. And that's okay if it's tucked up underneath there. Sewing tissue has, different colors to it than what I've already got on here. It's even a different color than my coffee dyed. Okay. Now, this will take some time before I can actually put it in my book. It will take time because it will have to dry. And I'll just put it outside for my day, for the day. I'll set it outside. With everything else that's drying. Today will be a coffee dye day, so this will sit outside with some coffee dyed paper and probably some other things I'm going to coffee dye. Maybe some index cards and, some things like that. Some more envelopes. Because we still have our June, July journal to do, which will happen about the middle of the month. And I'm excited about that. I'm working on that one. I think I'm going to have to get some more of that. Every time I dip in, I have to go further and further. And I still have my cover to do and for this one, and I think I know what I want to do on it. And I'll show you when I get started, because it's going to take a while. Okay, I think you get the idea of what I'm doing. I'm just taking bits and pieces of this, and I'm laying it down, and I'm going to continue them all the way across the back, so that this pattern, well, it's not even a pattern, it's just bits and pieces of this dyed tissue all the way across the back. Now, to get, I want to show you what I did on the envelope to start with. It looks like this. And I did this, I dyed it like this with ink. Or actually, it's oxide, these. I used my oxide pads. And I just squished them on this mat underneath here. I started out with coffee dye. And then I took, let's get some different shading here. And then I squirted just a little bit of water on them so they got, you know, kind of runny. And then I just dipped them in and let them get, and just let it get all over the place. And that is one of my favorite ways to let things get just naturally schmucky. And it's easy and it's quick. And if you like making things grungy, then that's an easy way to do things. Oh yeah, I like that color on there. That is a quick and easy way to do things. And I only have 3 colors that I used. I used my vintage photo. I used my gathered twigs. And I used my scorched timber. So, you know, I squished, like I said, I squished them all. I squirted them with water. And that was it. And then I just kept dipping until I got the color that I wanted. Now, when this is done, if you want to make it look like you sewed on it, you can get a black pen, a fine liner black pen. You know, if you don't have a sewing machine, get your fine liner black pen and create sewing lines. And I'll show you how to do that because that's what I'm going to do. Oops, get off of there. And if you don't have sewing tissue like I'm using, you can go to secondhand stores because sometimes you'll find used patterns there. And it doesn't matter, you know, if the pattern's current or not. And if the pattern paper isn't this color, if it's white, some companies have white pattern paper. If the pattern paper's not white, it's okay. You can coffee dye it. I've coffee dyed mine. Just take it out of the package. Don't unfold it because it will fall apart. It's just tissue paper. Don't unfold it. Just take your container that you coffee dye in and lay the entire thing in your coffee dye mixture or your tea mixture and just let it sit there until you're satisfied with the color. and then very, very gently pick it up and let it drain. And you truly, you need to invest in in something like, a dollar store or very cheap, what are they called? Cookie cooling racks. I have a set that are nothing I'd put on them except crafts. And I got mine, I think at Dollar Tree. They're very flimsy. I wouldn't put cookies on them to save my life because I don't think they'd hold any more but 3. And that's what I put my stuff on. So you can dry everything on those and just let it sit. And as it dries, it will start coming apart. And then you can start opening it. But don't try to open it while it's wet because you will pull it apart and it will disintegrate in your hands. Just let it sit. If you live someplace that you can sit that cooling rack outside, sit it outside in the sunshine and just let it sit there. It's definitely a weekend project because it will take a while. If you try to do it in the winter, sit it in front of your heat vent or someplace like that. And if it's really drippy, put it inside an aluminum pan, an old cookie sheet. And I highly recommend that you have one of those set aside for crafting too. For whenever you decide to do things like that. So, and you can get those really cheap also at secondhand stores, places like that when people turn them in. So, because that way you're not ruining your good cookie sheets because eventually the coffee will ruin them. That's how my current one became my designated craft sheet. Well, I take that back. Actually, my husband used it in his smoker one too many times. And then it was like, nope. So we had to buy him his own set of sheets for his smoker. But those are my recommendations to you. If you like to coffee dye or tea dye things, then that is what I would do. Because I tea dye tissue paper, I tea dye pretty much, or coffee dye too much everything. Because I just do. I just pick it up and throw it in and just let it sit. And after many times of things falling apart, I have figured out how not to have it fall apart. Okay, I'm almost done here. Now, I want a little bit darker over here. Now, it's like quiz time. Who can tell me the one thing I can't do with this? Okay, think. I cannot use a heater on this, my hand dryer, because of this. Because it will melt it. So don't dry that part. That's why I put it outside. Because it will melt it. Now, if you were to take that out, if I would have taken that out to start with, I could, but I didn't. I thought about that yesterday. I thought, I can just dry this and, it'd be done real quick. I forgot to do that. That's why it sat outside. But that's okay. Now, once this dries, you can stamp on it if you want. You can, you can do anything else that you want on it. You can do inking on it, but it does need to be dry completely before you do that. Okay. Now, it is extremely wet, so I can't I can't fold it. I can't do any of that. Because it will come apart if I try that. Okay. Okay, there it is. Now, I need to clean this off while this is still moist enough to allow me to do that. So, if you get any of your matte medium on there, or any of your ink on there, which I have both, take your baby wipe. See, you can see the ink on there. Take it around the edges. And clean it right off. But you do have to be gentle. Okay. Okay, is that on this side or this side? I think it might be on this side. It's right here in the middle. It's telling me it's right there. Oh, there it is, right there. All right, I've got something right there in the middle that I can't get off. See it right there? And I can't tell if it's on the front or the back. Right there. Okay, I'm going to have to put this on a different color because I can't tell. Well, that's just as dirty, so I can't tell there either. So, let's wipe this off. Well, I don't know if this will... This just needs a bath, so... All right. Right there. And right up there. Okay, I see it right there. And I think it's right there. Okay, so I will keep looking, but I do want to put this, now I can see it now under my hand, but it might be on the back because I don't feel it on the front. I think it must be on the back. So when it dries, I'll flip it over and I will clean the back because the front's clean. So it must be on the back. So I will clean the back when this dries. Now, the cover. All right, let's put this up here out of the way. The cover. I've been trying to decide what to do with the cover. Because I don't want my cover to look like a puppy dog. Okay, so let's get this out. I want to move this out of the way. Actually, I do have something I want to put in here. I found these little owls. And I want to put one. I want to put one of these little owls someplace. Maybe right there. So I think I'm going to have to use Fabri-Tac to hold him down. Oh no, I've never glued one of these little owls. So I'm thinking I want to put one right there. So now if this doesn't hold it, we will find out because, well, he'll fall off. And then I'll have to use my tacky glue. So I want to put him right there. Because the back of that was just kept looking at me, and it was just like, there's nothing there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that open while that dries. Like that. And I want to mark the page where I want to put the one that we just did. I want to mark that so I don't lose it. I think I want to put that one we just did right there. So here's my little owl. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside so my little owl can dry flat. All right, little guy, you sit right there so you can dry flat. Now the cover of the book. The cover of the book, if you'll remember, which if you do, you remember better than I do, had a puppy dog on it. Now, where did it go? Let me get our tissue paper out of the way. Here it is. Looks like this. And I don't want it to look like this. And the inside is going to be covered. So I'm not worried right now about the inside. But it will be taken care of too. So the outside, I think, is what I want to start on. And it needs a coat of gesso on it. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to cover that with a good coat of gesso. So let me grab the gesso here. Okay, so I'm just using my regular white gesso. And I'm grabbing a brush. There's my brush. Now, this will also sit outside today. Now, I like the color. It doesn't really have much of a texture to it. I like the color. I just don't really, like I said, I really don't want it to have puppy dogs on it. Even though I like my puppy dogs. But I'm wondering if we shouldn't start on the inside. Because they are really loud. Let me think. I do think I'm going to start on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to take this. And now I'm not going to do a heavy coat. But I do want to make sure that these puppies are covered. Okay. Just kind of smearing it around here, making sure it's covered. All right, I'll come back. I'm thinking I can put something over those dogs. I've got to also make sure I get the edges. Nope, there's my water. Good. Okay, I need another one. Okay, so I still have the texture, and I still have a little inkling of that color. Okay, I'm liking it so far. All right, I don't want that. It's a little too much. Oh, yeah, I like that. Okay. Okay. I like that. Okay, I think down here is going to have to be like my title or something, because I'm not able to get rid of those dogs very well. And then maybe up here, I'm going to have to do something up there. But I like it so far. It's just down here. I'm going to have to put something down here. I wanted to stencil the front of it with my, but I don't know if I can go over them or not. I don't know how they're going to show up under that stencil, under that modeling paste. All right, let's wipe this off. All right, I like that so far. Okay, I need to wipe this off. All right, on the inside, I don't want any of this. So the inside, I think the inside is going to actually be covered. Let me think. Where's the book? Yeah, the inside is going to actually be covered. So I don't think I'm going to have to do anything on the inside. Except right here. And that's going to be about it. Because I don't really care much about down here. But I do want the edges done. Because you're going to see these. This is the very first time I have ever painted a cover of a book. Usually if I use the book cover, I either cover it with fabric or I just leave the cover alone. This is the very first time I've ever painted one. So, I am a little nervous. I take that back. I am a lot nervous. All right, so I'm going to let this stuff dry. And I'm going to tell you guys, thank you for joining me today. And I'm going to let this dry. Here it is. Let's see how dry it is here. That's a little bit drier. So that we can turn it over like this. So that eventually we can finish this. I think our next video we'll be able to finish it and then put it in our book. And I want to make a tag that comes in and out of it for in the book. So because you know I like things that are interactive, and then I can wash my hands. And but it does have. I do need to take it outside to dry. And I do need to take this outside to completely dry before, oh, now I've got the hiccups, before I do anything else on it. So thank you for joining me today here at the Ladybug Journals. I'm so glad you did. And I'm so glad I got to explore and have some fun with you. Because it's so much fun having friends around the craft table. You know, we just get to explore together. So until I see you again in our next Ladybug Journals video, ta-ta for now.